you have made a deal with some kind of demon that if WWE doesn't air at least 722 pay-per-views a year, you're gonna die, don't worry about it, because it's never going to change. And even though Elimination Chamber feels like it happened around about 72 hours ago, we've got another pay-per-view this Sunday known as WWE Fastlane. And while I always do get excited about these events, I will say we could probably do away with this one, because it does like chip away at Wrestlemania just a little bit as we have to come up with brand new storylines that will only exist on this day. But whatever, we do have it coming up. I am ready, I am pumped, and because it does exist, we're gonna do some predictions for Fastlane 2019. My name's Simon Miller, this is WhatCulture Wrestling, and that's what we're gonna do right now. So, for some reason, Andrade versus Rey Mysterio has been announced for the pre-show, and also when it was announced, it was the last minute. Nope, I don't know why either, especially because these two had some of the best matches we've seen on SmackDown in around about 5 years. But this is where we are, and why we're not allowed nice things. My real worry is what it means for the feud. I mean, I absolutely love it, but we all know that WWE doesn't put any stock into the pre-show, and if you thought you could argue that, you can't when you remember what happened at Survivor Series 2018. I mean, it wasn't really alive and kicking before that, but now it's absolutely buried in the grave. It also makes coming up with a prediction quite hard, because does it even matter? Is it even going to be a thing by the time we get to Tuesday night? Which is why, with all that in mind, I'm going to pick Andrade. He needs the momentum more than Rey Mysterio because he could lose until the day he retires, and it wouldn't matter, it's Rey flipping Mysterio. He's a living legend, whereas Andrade, well, he needs to get a quick big boot up the ass. Again, this is the second time we've done this. Andrade came, he was really good, he vanished. Then Andrade got a second chance, he smashed it again, and for some reason, he then vanished back into the dust. So this time, let him beat Rey Mysterio, even if it's not clean, I don't care, and then push him to the moon. Literally. It also means you can set him up for a really, really good match at WrestleMania, and that's what I want, because right now I fear that Andrade is going to be in the Battle Royal, and we know how that goes. So yeah, Andrade Mysterio, I'm picking Andrade mostly because I'll cry otherwise, and I don't like crying when I watch wrestling. Makes me look like a fool. Speaking of WrestleMania, we are also going to see Shane McMahon and The Miz trying to get their tag team titles back from the Usos, and I do think that's going to tie into the show of shows, because yes, The Miz and Shane McMahon will lose here, because they're going to have a match on April 7th. If all this nonsense between the two hasn't been building to a match at that event, I will shave my head, because it just makes all the sense in the world. It's staring you in the face, and really, I'm kind of intrigued how that would work out, so now I actually want to see it happen, which means WWE did a good job, unless this isn't the plan. But then what the hell were you thinking? It does kind of mean that this is nothing more than a mere setup, but as I already hinted at during the opening, that's the problem. With Fastlane, you're always going to have people's eyes looking at WrestleMania instead. But as they are my thoughts, that's why I think Jimmy and Jay will retain their SmackDown gold here, and it will probably because Shane McMahon and Miz do have some kind of fight or some kind of breakup during the whole thing. So the real question is, who goes heel? And I've searched my feelings like a Jedi, and I'm actually going to pick Shane McMahon. I know Miz is better as a heel, but when was the last time we saw Shane as the bad guy? I think it would freshen things up a bit and give any potential match a nice twist. McMahon can show his true colours, screw over his friend. That gives the Usos the advantage, and we're done and dusted, and we walk off into the future. It gives you some talking points and does give Mania a bit of an extra kick as long as we find something for the Usos ASAP. There's been loads of WrestleManias in the past where they haven't gotten their due at all, and this year they absolutely need to be featured prominently and not on some waste of space pre-show match. So the Usos will retain their titles even if they don't win properly, and what I mean by that is that if McMahon and The Miz do break up in the middle, the whole thing may be called off, because we're all focusing on that instead. I mean, I'd rather see a pinfall, but either way, Jimmy and Jay, you got this. Sticking with the tag team division, although over on Raw we've also got the Revival, and they're defending their belts against Ricochet and Aleister Black, as well as Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. And I tell you what, you give this lot time, they could steal the damn show. It also makes me raise a little bit of an eyebrow as to why this was made a triple threat, but I believe it's to protect Al and Rick, because even though I think they could win the titles here, why the hell not? Remember what we did with Goldberg when he walked into WCW and he won everything and everybody was cool with that. The main thing is that the NXT guys cannot lose. They need the momentum, and that's why Chad Gable and Bobby Roode are here. They can lose instead. The Revival also need to hold on to their titles as we do rebuild this division, so let them go out there, let them have a brilliant match, and make sure that they do win, while not pinning Aleister Black and not pinning Ricochet. It's nice and easy. We're here already, so let's continue on with this trend as well, because we are also going to get the women's tag team titles defended as Sasha Banks and Bayley go against Tamina and Nia Jax. And this absolutely terrifies me to my core. While WWE absolutely made the right call by having them win at the Elimination Chamber, we all know that management loves a good heel tag team, especially if they're monsters, and who fits that bill more than Nia Jax and Tamina? And as they prove time and time again, apparently the Hug and Boss connection are really expendable. The saving grace is that Banks and Bayley have already visited NXT to say, hey, we're going to come back and we're going to defend these at some point, and to take that away from that audience, well, I think that would be really cruel. I think that would be really unfair. Don't do it. On the other hand, though, can you imagine that audience if Nia Jax and Tamina turned up? They would get absolutely destroyed, and it would make for some damn good social media content. Be gift for days. I don't want to think about it, though, and I want these titles to have a damn decent run, especially because they're so brand new. So Bayley, Sasha Banks, I'm picking you for the love of everything. Please, please make sure that's what happens. It's at this point you realise that Fastlane is actually quite a heavy tag team show, which is fine, by the way. Tag team wrestling is good because the Shield reunite once more like Motley Crue to take on the team and hopefully finish them forever of Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin. I swear they have been together since the year 1282. And I have come up with a scenario that I think would rock, even though it's absolutely not going to happen, because Dean Ambrose deciding to rejoin his brothers right now in terms of the narrative makes absolutely no sense. So imagine this. Ambrose turns on Roman Reigns during this match. That sets up Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose for WrestleMania 35, which is a much better match than Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin, which is the rumor, and it allows Seth Rollins to focus on Lesnar even though he's really mad at Dean Ambrose. It also means if Dean Ambrose is going to leave after WrestleMania, it doesn't matter anyway. He's out the door. Who cares what his wins-loss record is? I mean, that is not going to happen. And probably we'll just see Roman Reigns spear Baron Corbin so that the Shield win and that we can start building to the big dog versus the guy that wears a suit when he wrestles. To be honest though, I don't mind either way because the Roman comeback has been so special. He can do whatever he wants for at least 6 months. Just happy to see him back. Shield win. Asuka versus Mandy Rose for the Women's SmackDown title is also a thing we're going to see, and fair play WWE. I can't figure out actually who is going to win this one because the booking has been so nuts. Asuka wasn't on TV for a month, then she had a match with Mandy Rose which she lost, and then on this past SmackDown, she kicked both Rose and Sonya Deville in the head, because why the hell not? It's something to do. But given that Mania is so close, I don't think we change the title now because it will mean so much more if you do it in a month's time. And that's doubly true because, yeah, apparently Lacey Evans is going to fit into that slot. So it's better if you are going to give her some championship gold that she knocks off Asuka. And I know that makes you mad. But focus on now. Don't worry about April. Asuka's going to win. For the record, I don't think it will be cut and dry. And that's doubly true because you're going to have Sonya Deville on the outside. And if Evans does get involved, she'll do a little walk down. She'll do a little walk back up, and that will probably cause some kind of distraction. But again, Empress, you my pick. And how I feel about all of that is kind of how I also feel about Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens for the WWE Hemp title. I mean, it has been so rushed, and it's been so all over the place. I'm a bit like, how do we get out the other side without ruining one of these two people? I mean, is it to give Bryan one last big win before Kofi Kingston actually defeats him at WrestleMania 35 and becomes the WWE Champion? And if that's not the idea, why the hell did we switch things around and bring KO back early? It blows my brain. It would also break my heart if Owens does come back just to lose, because that's not what I wanted for him. That's not what I saw, and it will also tell me exactly how WWE is going to treat him, because don't forget, before he went away, he was just Braun Strowman's plaything, and I thought he was going to return at WrestleMania 35, and he was going to win the championship. But I just can't see it though, and it wouldn't make any sense with the New Day waiting in the wings. So I actually think that Daniel Bryan is going to retain his championship here. Kevin Owens is going to lose, and I tell you, that's not the way it was meant to be, man. That's not how it's meant to be. Kevin Owens will always be my bae. Forget all that, however, as we do have to talk about Charlotte Flair taking on Becky Lynch, which will likely be the Fastlane 2019 main event. And isn't it nice? That can just be a thing now. It's long overdue. If Becky does win, she's going on to WrestleMania 35 to be a part of that match. And if she doesn't, WWE is gonna kill her. Well, no, they're not. But that's how it sounded. She's just gonna get fired. Out of a cannon. Just to burst all your bubbles too, I don't actually think we're going to get a proper finish. I mean, Becky Lynch is still going to make it to WrestleMania. She's still going to be in that triple threat match, but you can't have Charlotte lose a mere month before WrestleMania 35. You've got to make sure everybody here stays strong, and that's why I think Ronda Rousey is going to storm down to the ring at some point and continue her crazy beatdowns on both of her challenges. Ronda is proper crazy now too, so it makes sense. And Stephanie McMahon can be all like scratching her head on Raw going, oh, I don't know what to do. I guess we'll just go with the triple threat because you three got to sort out your issues. It would be a bit of a cop-out, but it is a cop-out that makes sense. And sometimes you've got to put the stories first and ensure everything you're doing serves that. And if you're not going to do that, here's what I'd actually like to happen. I want Becky Lynch to lose and be taken out of WrestleMania, just because I want to see what social media would do. This is like a social experiment. I think there'd be so much rage and people would lose their minds to such a degree that Twitter would have to shut itself down. So I'm intrigued, but that's also a joke. It ain't going to happen. Don't worry, we're getting the triple threat. Becky is basically definitely going to win at WrestleMania 35. And there's a very, very early prediction for the show of shows. Come on. And that's that. That's Fastlane. On paper, it sounds like a good show. And of course, it's going to tie in to the biggest show of the year, which means it should be good. It should go off air, leaving you all fist pumping and going, I can't wait. And if it doesn't, don't worry. You can forget about it because, again, WrestleMania, the thing that is important. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know your predictions for Fastlane 2019. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Are we going to get a finish in that Charlotte versus Becky match? Like, share, and subscribe. Important to subscribe. Make sure you do it. Head over to WhatCulture.com and read more articles about Fastlane. Go follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, to stay up to date with Fastlane news. And watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling, a lot which are going to be about Fastlane. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you go and do this. Watch Ups and Downs for Raw, watch Ups and Downs for SmackDown, and then when we do Ups and Downs for Fastlane, you will have completed the trifecta of awesomeness, and I'll just magically appear in your room and I'll give you a giant hug. Something I've just said there is 100% not true, but there's only one way to find out. I'll see you soon.